Would you be the jerk for yelling at your wife for spamming your phone because there was an ongoing fire? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for refusing to cook for my wife anymore after she ate 3 of my meal-prepped meals? In my household, my wife doesn't cook. She sucks at it, and it's just easier on our taste buds if I cook for us. Earlier this year, we both decided that it was time for us to get back in shape. I decided to research some macro/calorie-friendly cooking recipes and got big into meal prepping. My wife stuck with it for a few weeks, but ultimately decided to quit. Luckily, this wasn't too much of an issue for me. She's a nurse and frequently works much later than I do, as my typical work day is from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I would make my meal prepped meals for the week on my day off, and then I would make dinner like I did prior. When I meal prep, I make 6 days worth of 3 meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and just swap around lunch and dinner. Last week, Thursday morning for work, and planned on coming back Friday morning and stopping through home, grabbing anything I needed, and then heading into the office. This was known for weeks in advance, so I didn't spring this on my wife. I figured that she would be able to make sure she and our kid got dinner that night, and breakfast the next morning. The next morning I'm running late, and drive through home looking for my last breakfast and lunch for the week, and they're gone. I don't have time to ask my wife, nor do I want to wake her up early before her shift, so I just go. I end up skipping breakfast and lunch. I get off of work and I'm starving and decide I'm just going to eat dinner early, and when I look for dinner that night, it's not there. This is what set me off. When my wife gets home, I ask her what's up, and she admits to eating the meals. I tell her that I'd portioned out food for an entire day, and she ate all of it in a single night. She said it was my fault as I didn't make anything for her and our kid to eat, and I just left the meal prep things, so they had to eat those. We got into an argument and she told me I was being selfish. So now I decided that if I'm selfish for expecting her to feed herself for one night, I would just not cook anymore, as I'm doing a lot of work for a selfish person. For the past week, I made my meal prep meals and store them at work and let her figure out what she wants to do for dinner by herself. Of course, I still cook for our kid, but only one portion small enough for him to eat all by himself. I told her I would keep this up and that she should learn to cook for herself if she's not happy about it. She told me that she's too tired when she comes home from work to cook and that I'm being incredibly petty. I think I'm justified, and I'm pushing her to learn a life skill she should have by now. Am I the jerk? I definitely don't think OP's the jerk here. They definitely could have cooked a meal for one night and figured it out. Although, does it strike anybody as odd the way that the food situation is going on here? To me, it feels like kind of like a roommate situation rather than something that would be kind of familial. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for not backing down over homeschooling my son? My son, Colin, recently turned 20. He's my youngest kid. I have 2 older kids from an ex-wife. They're 32 and 35, respectively. He's been doing some catching up with them, and I guess they've been telling him stuff about what they did during their childhood and teen years. I took him out for beers the other day, and out of the blue, he starts complaining that I'm some type of jerkhead for homeschooling him. That compared to his older siblings, his childhood was crap, and that thanks to me, he has no friends and no social circle. It is true that I sent his older siblings to a private Catholic school. I'm not religious, but I do think there are higher standards of education there. But that's because I could afford it then. Times had changed by the time I had Colin. I don't get what he's complaining about. He always seemed so happy as a kid. It's not like he was stuck inside all day either. We played sports and stuff like that. He had way more free time than regular kids, and he got a way better education too. My wife is a certified teacher. I understand maybe he should have been around more kids, but all he had to do was ask and I would have arranged it in a heartbeat. But he always seemed happy, like I said. I told him he needs to stop comparing himself to other people and just be grateful for the wonderful life he's had the opportunity to live. He got all sarcastic and moody, said his life was/is horrible and there's nothing to look forward to. He wanted me to admit the homeschooling was a bad idea. But in my heart of hearts, I know it was the right thing to do, so I couldn't agree with him. He got really drunk and weirdly silent and has been in a funk for the past few days, very unlike his normal self. I get that he's upset with me, but I don't think I should lie and say I agree with him about the homeschooling when I actually don't. Am I the jerk for not backing down? I don't think OP's the jerk necessarily about the homeschooling thing, but one red flag I do see here is OP saying, they could have just asked and I would have done it for them. You can't rely on a kid knowing what's best for them or if it's good for them to go out and do something. Do you wait specifically for when your kids ask for food to make food for them? I just think it should be common sense that if you're homeschooling a kid, you need to try to find other opportunities for them to socialize with other kids their age. Our next story is, am I the jerk, female 28, for telling my mom, female 50, that she can't trade my ring in? So my grandma passed away when I was 11. Before doing so, she bought me an expensive 24-karat gold ring. I don't wear it as it no longer fits, but I kept it because sentimental value. My mom, female 50, just came up to me holding the ring and said, I'm going to trade this in. And I said, what? She said she wants her own ring and will trade mine in towards the cost. I said, wait, so you're telling me that you're trading in my ring for my grandma to get yourself something? She said yes, because when she dies, she'll leave all of her rings to me as my inheritance. I said it is not okay by me. She said she'll do it anyway. She doesn't see my point at all, as the gold will come back to me anyway. She never asked if she could, just told me she is, as she doesn't see any issue. This is not okay with me at all, and I told her so. Am I the jerk for telling her this is completely out of order? 100% not the jerk here. This is your property. She has no right to do anything with it. End of story, really. This next story is, am I the jerk for not letting my kids stay somewhere I'm not allowed to darken the door? Okay, so I'm a 30-year-old female with a 9-year-old son. I've had an extremely close relationship with my dad my entire life. He's always been my best friend. I have my own home and job and life, but we talk multiple times a day, and he's very involved in my son. That's just how it's always been. So he started dating someone a year ago, and I won't lie, I wasn't a fan from the beginning. I recognize some of that may be some subconscious jealousy, because he's been single most of my life, but seriously, she's the worst. Very controlling, moving in after just a month, taking over his money, finding fault in all of his relationships other than theirs. She instigates arguments every chance she gets, and somehow I am always the bad guy, just because we're around. She slowly made it to where my son and I see less and less of my dad. Then she texted me one weekend and told me that I need to stop coming to his house on Sunday nights, which has been our family dinner night for as long as I can remember, because she has to work Monday mornings. Mind you, I freaking grew up in this house, and I was definitely snippy with my response. Mostly just telling her it wasn't her place to tell me that. Now my dad won't allow me in his home until I apologize to her. This has been about a month ago, and he wants my son to come spend the night, and he misses him, but I can't come inside. He has spent the night regularly his entire life, but now I'm not even allowed to bring him in and get him settled. I gotta just drop him in the driveway. Am I petty and ridiculous for not wanting my kids somewhere where I'm not welcome? I'm getting mixed responses from friends and other family. And I haven't cut his communication for my son off. They FaceTime often, just the overnights. Also, I think this is being blown up with my family so much because he's spent overnights and weekends with my dad since he was born. But now that I'm not allowed there, I've cut them off. And it's worth mentioning my dad is not broke. I feel like obviously they should still have some kind of relationship, but I do think in this situation where it's just the new wife's animosity with OP being the only reason OP can't go over there, that it would complicate how often they can see the kid. Again, OP's not cutting off that relationship, but you can't be all like, just drop the kid off and you go home and expect that to just fly. This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my husband off? My husband, 39, and me, 33, are having our second child and my third child overall. I have a child from a previous marriage. My husband works a full-time job and I run my own at-home bakery and sell at farmers markets. I'm maybe 4 to 6 weeks at this point, so still very early, and will be going to my first appointment in a few weeks. I've been feeling very sick the past few days, to the point that some days housework does not get done. Last night I was up until about 1 a.m. because I felt so bad I couldn't sleep. My husband comes home from work. I tell him the dog has been crying the whole time he's been gone. He replied back, or maybe it's that crap smell. I get upset at this and ask him what he's talking about. He was apparently talking about the mint-scented oil I had on a cotton ball to keep me from getting sick, which I tell him a little angry. That doesn't mean you have to be mean about it because that oil is the only thing keeping me from getting sick. Then from here, he sees Wendy's in the trash can and gets upset that I'd taken the kids for Wendy's drive-thru for dinner and that I hadn't done any housework or dishes. We have no dishwasher, so I have to hand wash everything. He also proceeded to tell me the pregnant women at his work can do their job and don't feel sick, and wanted me to explain to him why this is. I can't really explain why, but tried anyway, telling him, I don't know, they probably do feel as bad as I do. Or maybe they have medicine to help keep them from feeling as bad. He tried to justify that it was okay for him to be upset because the house smelled bad to him. He doesn't like mint. The AC was on too high. Getting takeout is my answer to everything in that he's allowed to feel how he feels. OP, in my opinion, is definitely not the jerk, and I think this guy is a very lousy partner. Pointing out the obvious, pregnancy is a very hard thing on people's bodies, and obviously it can vary in severity depending on the person. Some people, they might be able to keep doing a demanding job while pregnant. A lot of people are going to be debilitated a lot of days. This guy is just so lousy and screams a 1950s mindset. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my fiancé she looked weird in our wedding night? My 32-year-old male, I've been dating Sarah, 29-year-old female, for over 2 years. I love her to death, and she means the world to me. Also, she's a person who's comfortable with her skin and doesn't use a lot of makeup, which I really adore about her, and we always tell the truth to each other no matter what. Yesterday was our wedding, and the moment I saw her there, I was shocked. She used a huge amount of makeup that I barely recognized her without hearing her voice. She saw my facial expression, that I was acting a little out of the ordinary, and she asked me what's wrong. I told her it's nothing, but she looked a little weird with all that makeup on her face. She tried to laugh it off and started talking to her other friends. To be honest, at that moment, I really didn't think I said something wrong or anything especially. She didn't say anything. However, when we went home, she started giving me the cold shoulder treatment. I asked her what's wrong, and she said it's nothing, and she doesn't feel well, and she's tired, etc. To be honest, I think she's hiding something, and that got me wondering if what I said may be the reason. So, am I the jerk? To be honest, unless something is actually going wrong, I feel like this is the one situation where you kind of fib a little bit and just say that your partner is the most beautiful or handsome or whatever than you've ever seen them in your life. I mean, the thing is, it's your wedding day and she came out expecting to be given some kind of incredible compliment or nothing but endless smiles. To get up there and then just receive weird looks and you finally ask about it and they just say, you look weird. I think you can understand how that just kind of ruins the whole vibe for the rest of the night. This next story is, am I the jerk for saying my girlfriend's new tattoos are all right? So my girlfriend has never had tattoos before, and she got 4 small ones on her first visit. When she showed me them, I said they were all right and explained how I'm not a big fan of tattoos in general, but that I wasn't against them. I went on to say that I neither love it nor hate it, that they're okay and it shouldn't matter what I think. As long as you like them, that's the only thing that's important. A day passed and she brought it up again that I didn't have to be a jerk about it. That as her boyfriend, I should say they look good even if I don't like them. Was I in the wrong for being honest? I just personally can't blame OP here. I think OP tried to be as respectfully honest as possible. They didn't insult them, they didn't talk bad about them, they just said, to be honest, tattoos aren't really my thing, but if you love it, that's what's important. Is there truly anything wrong with that? Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister the world doesn't revolve around her and her son? I, female 24, am getting married to my fiancé, male 26, in October this year. We got engaged in January and couldn't be more excited. It's a very small wedding and we're only inviting close family and friends. The problem is with my sister Lisa, female 30. Lisa has a 2-year-old son with her husband. I don't have a super affectionate relationship with Lisa for multiple reasons that I can't fit into this post. We sent out wedding invites last month. Our wedding ceremony starts at 1:30 p.m., and we asked our guests to please arrive at the venue by 1 o'clock. The venue is in our hometown, so it's close by to the majority of the people on our guest list, including Lisa. Lisa told me that the time wouldn't work because of her 2-year-old's nap schedule. She said he takes a nap at 12 and that she's not forcing him to be awake so she can get him ready for the event, or he will be a terror. I don't have kids, but I thought this was a silly reason. I asked Lisa if she could find a babysitter, and she said she can't because everyone she trusts will be at the wedding. I suggested that they at least attend the reception, but she said she won't if she can't be at the wedding. She told me she won't attend the wedding unless we change the time. I told her we can't do that. Lisa said she's not going then. I was quite hurt by this. I wasn't sure how to react in the moment, so I just abruptly ended the conversation with an excuse. A few days later, Lisa asked me if I thought about her suggestion. I reminded her that there's no way we can change the time. She told me she hopes I'm happy that they aren't attending and said that everyone is going to ask why she's not there, and it's all because I can't accommodate my nephew. I snapped at her and told her the world doesn't revolve around her and her son. She called me a bridezilla and has blocked me. My mom is pestering me to make amends with Lisa, but I just don't think I'm in the wrong. Yeah, I definitely don't think OP's in the wrong here. Listen, if you have something that comes up and you literally just can't attend this wedding, there's nothing wrong with that. You can't force somebody to change their wedding to revolve around you. If you can't make it because it's so important that your kid sleeps at 1 or 12 or whatever, by God, that's your reason, don't go. This next story is, am I the jerk for unfolding my clothes because my wife accidentally folded them the wrong way? My wife, 29-year-old female, and I, 31-year-old male, have been married for 5 years and have 3 kids that are 3, 2, and almost 2 months old. I work, and she stays home to take care of the kids. She is a great wife and mom, and I love her. Whenever she does laundry, she rolls and puts my clothes on hangers and I put them away. Yesterday, when I got home from work, she handed me my basket of clothes. But instead of them being rolled, they were folded. I asked why, and she said she just forgot and did them like everyone else's. I said that was fine, and I went in our room and unfolded the clothes and laid them on the bed, planning on rolling them back up. However, I realized I didn't have the time because I had to work on a presentation, so I went to my office and started working. My wife came in a while after that and asked why I'd unfolded my clothes. I said because I wanted them to be rolled and was going to do it, but realized I needed to finish some work. I asked her if she could please re-roll them, and she just walked out. She came back with a basket of all of my clothes and just dumped them on the ground in my office and called me a jerk and told me to do it myself. I think that it wasn't an unreasonable request because she takes care of things around the house, and I've had the same preference for my laundry for our entire marriage. I work hard to provide her and our children with a very privileged life, and I don't think properly rolled laundry is asking for that much. I did plan on doing it myself, but just couldn't. Now she's giving me the cold shoulder. Am I the jerk? I feel like there's a disconnect going on here where OP says they asked if they could, because I feel like, okay, OP prefers it a certain way. They were going to do it themselves. They couldn't get to it in time. They asked, hey, if you could you do this? I feel like you wouldn't necessarily be the jerk in this situation, but for her to have such a reaction, I feel like OP must have come across in a way that was saying, listen, go do that for me real quick. Either way, I also find it very suspicious that OP didn't have the time to roll whatever. It takes probably 5 minutes tops to just put that all away. This next story is, am I the jerk for not accepting my future mother-in-law's apology because she said she wanted her son to be with a princess? Hey everyone, I, 29-year-old female, and my fiancé, 27-year-old male, are having a disagreement about if I'm becoming the jerk in the situation or not, so I'm turning to Reddit for help. About 2 weeks ago, fiancé's mother, 51-year-old female, came over to our house for coffee and to visit fiancé. They're very close due to him being an only child, so this isn't weird. Plus his parents live about 6 houses down from us. Well, about 5 minutes into the visit, future mother-in-law turns to fiancé and asks, has Jessica lost any weight? Side note, I'm a 5-foot-tall, curvy woman. My fiancé was shocked and said, I don't know, I haven't asked, why? She said, because I always pictured you with a princess or a mermaid. You know, someone taller and thinner. I just feel bad I didn't say something sooner and intervene in the relationship before it got this far. My fiancé said he was shocked after that and didn't know what to say other than, what the freak? His mother left after that, and my fiancé told me what happened when I got home. I obviously was devastated. His mother and I had an amazing relationship before this and were extremely close. They don't have a lot of family here in the US due to them immigrating from another country, and she has a hard time speaking English, so I always try to include her in things my fiancé and I were doing, so she wasn't alone when her husband worked weekends. I tried to learn their native language so she could feel more comfortable communicating with me. I tried so hard to be the best daughter-in-law, and now I feel like it was all fake on her part, and that her I love yous, which she always said, mean nothing. The following day we had her over to explain her side, but she just doubled down and said it to my face, and that she's so relieved to tell me this, that it's a huge weight off her shoulders, and I hope this doesn't change our relationship. I cried and my fiancé told her to leave. I've not directly spoken to her since, and my fiancé is starting to say I'm kind of being a jerk because I won't even speak to her to accept her apology. Am I being a jerk? Thank you. I just can't blame OP. I think you're not the jerk. I know if I were in that situation, I would equally be devastated, and at least for a while, I wouldn't want to have any contact. I would want some time to really process this. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my husband he was cleaning the toilet wrong? I, 30-year-old female, asked my husband, 31-year-old male, to clean the toilet because I'm pregnant and throwing up often. For a variety of reasons that are equally our fault, the toilet in our master bathroom has gotten quite gross, though we've kept the guest bathroom cleaned. I was frustrated that he didn't do it yesterday like he said he would. I've thrown up in a gross toilet twice since he said he'd clean it, so I nagged him to do it today. I'm in our room, so I'm like 10 feet from the bathroom, and hear him immediately start scraping the bowl with a pumice stone. I interrupted him and told him he needs to scrub it with a toilet brush first to get like the gunk off first, and that the stone is for stains. Kind of like how you would wipe crumbs off a counter before scrubbing any gunk with a scouring pad. He got annoyed and said, I know how to clean a toilet. I told him with how dirty it is, going right in with the pumice is going to get it all nasty, and that he should do toilet brush first and then the stone. I often find that he doesn't seem to know basic housekeeping skills, but instead of taking my advice, he insists he knows what he's doing. For example, sweeping the kitchen before wiping off the counters, or doing the stove before the microwave and the microwave bits getting on the clean stove. He uses the wrong settings on the washer or dryer and frequently forgets to clean the lint trap. I don't judge him for not automatically knowing these things. We all had to learn at some point. But he gets so defensive when I suggest there are better, cleaner, more efficient, safer ways to do certain household chores. Mind you, these had been primarily my responsibility since he works more. I'm not currently employed. And before that, he contributed more to the household financially even when I did work. But he's having to pick up some slack because this pregnancy is kicking my butt. I feel like maybe I can be too harsh. But I also was very explicitly taught how to clean. I had a rotating chore list of about 2 to 3 hours of daily chores, including everything from sweeping, mopping, bathrooms, laundry, kitchen deep clean, etc. And he was not. I wish he would defer to my expertise instead of just doing it wrong and insisting it's fine and he knows what he's doing. Edit to add, yes, the toilet was dirty, but not to the point of the pumice being necessary, in my opinion. Cleaner and a scrub brush would have sufficed. Kind of my point to my husband that he should have used a scrub brush first. For those curious about why a pumice stone would ever be necessary, we have very hard water that can stain the porcelain around the waterline of the bowl. Not stains from the toilet being dirty per se. Never had to edit twice, but pregnancy brain jumbles my thoughts. Overuse of a pumice stone on porcelain causes damage. Using it gently to spot clean the water ring stain is fundamentally different from using it to clean the whole bowl. I didn't make that clear and should have, because a trend I'm seeing in the comments is people asserting it is an issue of personal preference. I actually have the same issue with hard water. At some point where the water line sits, it's going to start building up and you have to use a pumice stone. But yeah, you put some cleaner around the bowl and you go at it with a brush, and then you get the hard water stains at the very end. It seems kind of like common sense. It's disappointing that you have legitimately good advice and instruction, and they're just refusing because, I don't know, pride? OP's clearly not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for making fun of my brother's job/salary? My brother-in-laws make fun of me for being short, stocky, and for looking older than my age and balding. I'm 30. Whether it's sports related, the size of my legs, my vehicle, my stomach, etc. I don't normally make fun of others and try to be aware of others' feelings. I heard them talking in a small group from a distance about how terrible I look for my age. I agree with them for the most part, but figured if we're speaking facts, then it would be okay for me to walk over and say, for as old and as terrible as I look, at age 30, my salary is triple yours at age 45. And I smiled. Awkwardness ensued, and I was approached by others, saying that I took it too far to mention money and a man's job. I convinced myself to be okay with this, but I naturally feel bad for having said this. But I figured I could not make fun of them for being short or fat because they aren't. So basically, I had to work with the ammo that I had. I usually let them making fun of me slide without saying a word and go home feeling kind of bad about myself. But I've been getting tired of it lately. Am I the jerk? In this situation where you're the punching bag for things that are pretty much mostly out of your control, I think it's more than justified that at some point you rib them a bit in return. I think it's just fair. This next story is, am I the jerk for yelling at my wife after she blew up my phone with calls because of a fire? Throwaway because some of this made local news and I don't want it connecting back to me. I work in a place where we're not allowed to have personal electronics on us at all. No phones, no smartwatches, no pagers. I've been working here for about 6 months, so my wife knows this and understands that she should not try to contact me by my cell at work. Phones are dropped off in our lockers, and I typically have mine on Do Not Disturb. Before this incident, my phone has never gone off in the locker before. Recently, there was a pretty big fire at a secondary worksite that I do work at occasionally, but that day I was working at the main building. Local news covered the fire before I found out about it because, again, no electronics. Plus, the work we do isolates us a bit, so news travels pretty slowly. There were a few casualties, a lot of seriously injured folk. My wife had been watching the news from home and started freaking out, I guess. She called me 20 freaking times, which, and I didn't know this was possible, overrode my Do Not Disturb, and my phone was ringing for a while in my locker. In the middle of my shift, I got called into my manager's office and was chewed out and written up for my phone making so much noise. They told me to go take care of whatever it was making my phone go off before I went back to work. I won't lie. When I saw those 20 missed calls from my wife, I was seriously ticked off. Like I said, she knows not to try to contact me directly, and a citation hurt my chances of getting a raise or a promotion. I called her back and she was sobbing and asking me if I was okay. I said of course I was okay and asked what the freak was wrong with her to call me so many times. She was still crying and started talking about the fire. After that, I started half yelling at her about all the reasons it was dumb of her to call me. When I got home, she was super upset with me. I apologized for yelling, but she refused to talk. She's been very chilly the past few days and sleeping in our daughter's room. I know it wasn't the best decision to yell at her, but I still think my anger's justified. 1, she knows I don't work in the secondary worksite very often. 2, she knows that I can't be contacted directly and she could have just called the office. 3, 20 calls is absolutely insane. Am I the jerk? I definitely think OP is the jerk here. Listen, it sucks that this is going to potentially impact your job and your future earning potential there, but I feel like this is an issue more with the company than it is with your wife. I mean, this was a situation where there was a real emergency going on at an adjacent worksite where you could have been. The company should be understanding and give you a pass here, and I feel like it's wrong for OP's initial reaction to just be upset instead of worrying that something might be happening to make their wife call 20 times. I just know if I were in OP's situation, I would be freaking out listening to that dial tone waiting for my wife to hopefully pick up.